Hello, I'm Orla from Soah Flowers in Kilkenny. In this video for the National Design and Craft Gallery, I'm going to show you how to make a beautiful Christmas wreath. First, I'll start off by showing you the different tools and materials that you will need to make your own wreath, and later on when it comes to making your wreath, you can always swap out some of the ingredients that I will be using. So firstly, what we'll need is a really good strong pair of secateurs, good quality, some decent scissors to go through plant materials and other items, and a good pair of pliers, which we'll need for wiring. We'll also need some little wire sticks, and then for the base we might need this real wire or EEL. This is real wire, but I prefer to use this bind wire because it's a coated wire. It's a bit softer for using, so that's the one I will be using. And also some twine is great just for tying up little bunches of things. And for the base itself, there'll be a choice over this lovely pre-made straw base, which I will be using, but I'll also show you how to make your own base with this wreath, this wire base, which will then cover in moss. And onto that then we'll have a selection of greenery, and then with some of the other ingredients will be some lovely dried fruits and cinnamon sticks, some ribbons, pine cones. I've got some lovely reindeer moss, some beautiful red berries. And now I'm going to show you how to make the base. Now for the base for the wreath, for this particular wreath, I'm going to use these pre-made straw bases, which are widely available online. But for anyone who likes to use moss, I'll show you how to do that too. These metal rings, which again are available online, make a really great base for the moss. And I'm going to use the bind wire to attach the moss. You can also use this real wire that I showed you earlier. It's just a little more harsher on the hands and it can cut through things a bit more easily. So I prefer to use this coated one. So I like to cut off a nice piece of it, and then I'm just going to tie it on, just pick a point and just tie it onto this metal base. And I'll just wrap it around a couple of times, and then we can start adding in the moss. This moss is kind of in flat sheets, so it's really easy to use. Just pick up a nice little chunk of it. I want a little bit of thickness to the base, so when the foliage goes on it'll stand out a little bit. So we'll just do it thickly, a little bunch, and then just slowly bring it around. And every time you bring the wire around, just give it a gentle little tug, just so it's nice and tight. And we'll go around there a couple of times. And the great thing about this wire is you can leave it down and it won't completely unravel, because the wire on the inside just stops it from moving around too much. So we'll get another little piece of moss and add it on. Just squish it down a little bit, tuck it in. And again, remember, every time you go around, just give the wire a gentle tug. Don't go too hard or you might just squash the wire base together a bit. You just want it nice and tight, so even if the moss dries out a little bit, it won't become too loose. So you just continue this all the way around. So I'm just continuing on around, and when I get to the end of my piece of wire, I'll just stop. That's fine as it is. I'll cut myself another piece. I'm just going to tie them together. I'm going to double knot them rather than just wrapping them around each other. I find them more secure when they're done this way. If you're using the real wire, you could probably get away with just twisting them together, but you need to do it really tightly. So that's there. Quite secure, and then you just continue on again around. Okay, so I've gone the whole way around with this moss. So just to finish it off, I'm just going to tuck the wire just in through the base somewhere and just twist it around just to make it more secure. And this is the front, but as you see the back is lovely and covered as well, which is really good so that the metal base won't scratch your door and just gives a nice solid base for a wreath. And when it comes to putting the foliage on, There's two ways with the moss that you can do. You can just go around and stick the point of each one in. You might need to use a skewer or a stick to make a hole first. The moss is really thick. And if you do it that way, it can stay a little bit more hydrated. Or you can do it the way I'm going to show you how to do it with the straw base. And that'll be to make little bunches and tie them on. I will show you that now in a few moments. Now I'm going to show you how to make the base for the wreath using this straw base that I have. And I have some lovely greenery that I gathered from the garden, some nice branches of conifer and some pine. And I've got some lovely painted conifer that I bought in as well. And before I start, I like to make lots of little bundles. I chop up the greenery into bundles to have them handy for myself. And the tools that we're going to need are twine for tying up the bundles, the bind wire, scissors and secateurs. So we start off by making our little bundles. I like to use a mix of the foliage that I have. So I have some conifer, some pine. Got them down to about this length. I think that's probably about 6-7 inches. They don't all have to be the same because I can trim them off afterwards. I might just fan them out a little bit. You can use a variety of different ingredients, whatever you have, preferably the evergreen. Holly's great to use, but it can dry out a little bit, so I like to use just a nice mix of these evergreens. I'm going to add in, I think for this one, nice little piece of the gold then kind of tucked in. About this much is probably enough. And then we will just put a piece of string. Just wrap it around a couple of times. And just tie it off. Just give it tied quite tightly, just so if the foliage dries out over time, especially if it's indoors, it won't fall out of this little bundle. Just tie it off. Trim it down, and then I'll just tidy up the ends using the secateurs. And then what we do is we're going to make lots and lots of these little bundles and attach them all to the base. And what I like to do, you can make each bundle and attach it on as you go along, or you can make lots of bundles and put them on then at the end. So I like to make a good start by making a good few bundles and then attaching them on. That'll give you an idea of how many more that I need. So now I'll make plenty of bundles to get started with. Okay, so I've made lots of these lovely little bundles that I talked about. Just some lovely plain green ones, and I decided to add in gold into every second bundle. I thought it would be enough, and as you can see, each bundle is roughly the same height and the same width. They don't have to be perfect. It's a natural wreath, but just in or around the same height, so when they go on the wreath, they'll all take up roughly the same amount of space. So now I'll put them onto the base. I'll get back to this bind wire, or the real wire. That's what you're using. I just like to cut myself a nice piece. If I make the piece too long, it gets tangled up in itself. You could possibly use the twine for this, but I find with the wire, it just tightens in well onto the base. So again, I'm just going to knock this on to the base. Just wrap it around a couple of times, and then we can start putting on the bundles. Let's start with this nice green one here. It's good to get the first one on in the right position because the others then will follow on after that. So we don't want it too low because all the other ones will fill the middle, and we don't want it too high because you'll end up with too many bundles and the middle bit won't be covered properly. So we want it going down here, and I like to slightly angle it up so that's going across here and up here. So we'll just go around, I think 3 times. Get it nice and so twice. And this is run out, so I'm just going to add in another little piece. I'll just double knot it. Cut away the excess. Off piece. And keep going around. And the next piece, which is going to have the gold in it, I'm going to lay over this one in the same angle. So it's going across this way and up this way a little bit. We'll position this here. Go around a couple of times. I'm going to go around 3 times, so it's nice. Each time you go around, just give it a good tug so it's nice and secure onto the base. Then I'll go back to a nice plain green one, and again in the same position. You want it going across here and up this way a little, as a nice little bit of coverage then in the middle. Just go around couple of times, add in another piece of wire, join them together, and now another little gold one, I think, again exact same way, going across the way and up a little, and some coverage in the middle and around a couple of times, and we'll just continue on then going around with all the little bundles. So now I've tied in all the little bundles the whole way around. Just watch out for the last bundle, it can be a little bit tricky, so I like to make mine a little bit wider than the other bundles, and then I just lift up the very first bundle that I would have put on, tuck in the last bundle and tie it in tightly to get this finished piece. And now we'll add in the decor. Now it's time for the decor. With the decor, there's 2 main ways that I added on: wiring and gluing. The gluing is very straightforward, so just how to do the wiring, because it can be a little bit tricky. So for this we will need our wires, pliers that I showed earlier. The skewers is really handy as well. So we'll start off with these lovely dried oranges, and they really are dry, so this is where the skewer comes in handy. So I'll just find a point, make my hole first all the way through with the skewer, get the wire and follow exactly where I went with the skewer. Halfway through, you just cross over the wire, hope you can see that, and just give it a couple of twists. And then this is where the pliers is really essential, because it's not something you can do with your fingers. You just grab where you've twisted and just give it a good tug and finish twisting it off. So this wire, it's really secure on the wire, orange. And similar then, these lovely pine cones, just get a piece of wire, and I find a nice place around the back and just slot the wire in through a few of the gaps. You want to get quite a few, as many as you can, just so it's secure. And again, just cross over the wire, give it a couple of twists first with your hand, and then get your pliers and grab exactly where it is, give it a couple of twists and a good tug. And that's that. When it comes to putting it onto the wreath, we'll find the spot and you just tuck it in through and get the wire and just tie it around a good chunk of material. Now once you have all your ingredients prepared, it's a great idea to lay them all out onto the wreath so that you're happy with the positioning before you start. Just relax and enjoy it and have fun. There's no wrong way to do it. This is my finished wreath now. I've attached everything using wire, twine or hot glue, and I've looped a ribbon around the back for hanging. I hope you enjoy this demonstration. Thank you so much and goodbye.